my successor, Sean Donovan, but I think I can say without being critical, just being analytical, that their success in stemming the foreclosures is not one of the successes of this program. It's been a less effective program than I think the country needed or we would have wanted. And it's very, very serious. As Kelly said a moment ago, it's a very serious problem in the following respects. First of all, it's deadly serious for families whose credit ratings are going to be impacted as they're foreclosed upon, the stability of their own families. The disruption at the family level has been immense. It's a setback. It's a continuing setback for banks that have bad loans in their portfolios, have not been able to get them off their books, therefore they're not able to be in position to lend again, and that capital has been kept out of our system and out of the recovery. It's been a problem for communities with the vacancies and the effects on communities. I've been in places in Florida where literally, without exaggeration, 3 houses on a block of 6 houses are boarded up, have storm windows put on them, vacant, vandalized, similarly in Las Vegas and other places where this is immensely severe. It's had a bearing on the housing recovery overall and builders. If you're a builder, and I'm in the business of financing builders and trying to get production going, they're not going to build because there is this overhang of foreclosures that are selling at 40, 45, 50, 60 cents on the dollar as competition. So how do you sell a new home in competition with a foreclosed home? The answer is a lot of builders have quit. They've gone out of business. So whereas at the peak we're producing 1.2 million new homes a year, we're now producing annualized something like 300,000 homes a year, or down to a quarter of the production level. How do you get the American economy restarted with one of the largest sectors of the economy on the sidelines? And a big part of it has to do with the overhang of foreclosures. And finally, there's the overall effect on sort of consumer confidence. Every time consumers read that the housing foreclosures are going to continue because the ARMs are still adjusting, adjustable rate mortgages, and so forth, consumer confidence is impacted, and consumer confidence has been at near record lows for months and months and months at a time. Well, Metro Atlanta is one of the most impacted communities in the country. Georgia has the nation's 7th highest rate of foreclosure filings, and though it started most obviously in the city of Atlanta in zip code 30310, where mortgage fraud was evident, investor speculation, predatory loans, the cancer spread to the region as a whole, and last month, Gwinnett County set the state's all-time record for a county with 2,900 foreclosure filings, almost 3,000 foreclosure filings. Well, so just as Atlanta and this region has and must coordinate on things like transportation and water and job creation, which, again, I'm a great admirer of this region. I know what you have done and are capable of doing. So too must Atlanta coordinate in addressing the foreclosure crisis. And this piece-by-piece initiative is the answer. It is a regional foreclosure initiative that, frankly, I have not seen in any other place in the United States. I visit, in the course of my work, lots of communities across America, and all over America, people are wringing their hands and throwing their hands up in despair, not able to get a handle on this, experimenting with all kinds of small initiatives. But there's been no kind of coordinated effort with a real commitment of weight and strength and force behind it, with goals and metrics to measure how this is done the way you're seeking to do here. The elements of piece by piece are important. First, the thematic elements. Let's keep people in their homes. With strong HUD-approved counseling agencies that are working successfully every day here, with servicers to get modifications in loans, this can be done. We need to connect more families in trouble with those counseling efforts. Banks and servicers can get more creative in finding new ways to keep families in their homes through modifications, tapping the Treasury's hardest hit fund, the Federal Housing Affordable Modification Program, or HAMP, and even rental conversions. Individual volunteers can help, working, for example, with home repairs for elderly persons that will allow them to continue to live safely in their current home. So there are a lot of different pieces once we commit that we want to try to keep people in their homes. That's important. It's important to those families. It's important to the communities that will otherwise have vacant and discounted homes deteriorating before our very eyes. It's important for all the reasons that I described earlier to the region and to the country. So the strategy of sort of stemming the blood flow here and keeping people in their homes is an important piece of the philosophy behind Piece by Piece. Another is to restore vacant properties. Metro Atlanta is already our nation's third emptiest metro area measured by single and multifamily residential vacancies. The NSP program is a start in trying to bring vacant, distressed homes and apartments back to use, but more needs to be done on this program. Metro Atlanta's spiraling vacancy rates are substantial, and we need to create incentives including increased access to capital for good private and nonprofit redevelopers who can purchase vacant properties and provide quality rehab product that brings value to the home and the surrounding neighborhood. All across America, I have seen people talk about all different pieces of this problem that is relatively easy to do, the counseling initiative, for example. But one of the great areas where I've seen a fall down is in quality nonprofits and developers getting access to some of the deteriorating vacant properties and doing a good job of turning it around on a scale. And we see piecemeal efforts using CDBG funds, using home funds, using national foundation funds, all kinds of municipal efforts. But I will tell you honestly, I have not seen one that I would say is first class, stellar, working, having a dramatic effect, measurable in the turnaround potential. And I think that's what you have a chance to do here by doing this on this scale. Still a third philosophical element of Piece by Piece is the potential for collaboration. Everyone has a role to play. Every one of the groups involved in this process. Neighborhood groups, counseling organizations, developers, the environmental community, governmental leaders, lenders, home builders, real estate professionals, senior service providers, employers, religious congregations, business alliances, charitable foundations, individual volunteers, all have a role to play. I think it's appropriate that we would be gathering today at the Carter Center where Jimmy Carter, President Carter, has established a national, even international recognition of the power of people collaborating, coming together. As I say, my first visit to the Carter Center and last visit to the Carter Center was as a HUD secretary meeting with a group like this with President Carter to talk about the turnaround of Central Atlanta. Again, a collaborative effort that, as we know, has borne great results. I serve today on the International Board of Habitat for Humanity, which is headquartered here. And many people, although we know that Millard Fuller founded Habitat, lots of folks across the world think Jimmy Carter founded Habitat. He may as well have, for the impetus and the force that he's given it, but it too kind of captures the Atlanta spirit of bringing people together, many volunteers, and tapping those unbelievable efforts. And I use the word unbelievable because they're almost counterintuitive. You can't believe that people can do this. You can't believe that people can work together in these ways. It brings a quality of 2 + 2 = 5, which I characterize as very much in the Atlanta tradition. So the highlights of this effort include 115 community-based organizations committed to working on the foreclosure problem. Digging out from under this will not be quick or easy. It will require commitments to the pieces of the crisis that each of those 115 organizations can do. Again, outreach at the community level through church organizations, for example, and volunteer groups, working on identifying families that are not yet in trouble but are likely to be, involving their employers if necessary, but certainly confronting the, working with the banking institutions and the lending institutions on modifications of interest rates, of principal, working with local government to provide ways to provide resources to capable contractors and nonprofits for the refurbishment of the housing that has become vacant so it can be put back on the market as soon as possible for sale or as rental. There's a real potential to utilize a lot of it as rental for families that are not going to be homeowners. Well, as in every other case in this kind of effort, the country's watching and looking for the place that gets this right, does it well, and it may as well be Atlanta. As I said, I get across the country and I look for best practices and models, and I have not seen it in this arena. It's reason because it's hard. It's real hard. We've got so many moving parts. We've got people who we don't know are yet in trouble. We've got financial institutions that are hamstrung by the way the mortgages were sold into the secondary market, and we know the crisis that that has created in terms of the legal trail of ownership and who actually owns the paper and who owns the unit. It's complex. If it had been easy, it would have been fixed a long time ago. But it is hard, and it does require a concerted effort at the local level of the kind that you can put together. Well, let me close my remarks to you and go to a few questions by just once again recounting the significance of what this is about. First of all, it's important to the country from an economic standpoint. Let me put this as clearly as I can. Foreclosures are impeding the recovery of the nation's housing market. And the nation's housing market, their sluggishness, is holding back a robust national economic recovery. I can't say it any more straightforwardly than that. Foreclosures are a big element of why the housing markets are as sluggish as they are. And the fact that they're as sluggish as they are is a big element in why the national recovery is not coming back. Why do I say that? Well, every recovery since the end of World War II has included the recovery of the housing sector. We haven't had an economic recovery that didn't include the housing sector, and that's logical. Housing is a huge part of the national economy. By some estimates, prior to the recession, it was 20% of GDP involved in all the elements: housing construction, housing finance, appliances, transportation of materials, production of those materials, 20% of GDP. You take that and put it on the sidelines, you can't have a national economic recovery. So it threatens the larger well-being. As I said earlier, you've got builders standing on the sidelines who cannot build new because we have not resolved the foreclosure issues. So you're dealing with when you peel back the layers of the onion and kind of try to get to truth about how we're going to work our way out of this, foreclosures are very near the heart of it. It's also a critical issue from a community standpoint. We have vacancies in neighborhoods. I have seen graffiti and vandalism and vacant houses. They pose a public housing threat with vagrants and drug dealers moving into these vacant homes in what were otherwise once balanced and stable neighborhoods. We have blight and deterioration that follows. I'm not exaggerating. You know what I'm talking about in neighborhood after neighborhood. That's what's at stake. And finally, and perhaps most importantly, even more important than the economy or the quality of our communities, is what it means for people, what it means for families. Because a home is so much more than just four walls. It's actually even a lot more than an economic investment that goes right to the heart of families' economic well-being. We know that for most American families, the biggest purchase they're ever going to make is their home. The sum total of their net worth is the equity they have in their home. And to threaten that, to have it eliminate for whatever reason, they overstretched, they were led in by some unprincipled lender, they